Okay. Let's see if anyone can find me. This is fun. Hey, Angela's there. You found me. I just got to work out how to let anybody else find me. This is very annoying. Hopefully they will find their way in. Just trying to find out how to get the link. Ha ha ha. New link. YouTube. So, Jeff, McKeon and Angela. So I've got 4 people. Hopefully people will be able to find me because I'm flying solo. Jeff, my friend Jeff from Moorooduc has abandoned me. So has Linda. Peter and Nina, if you're around, you might be able to share the link out. I'm not sure if Peter got home yet. There are some of you who will be able to find me again, and there are others who I don't think will be able to find me. But anyway, I know I had to start a new link. So hopefully enough of you will find your way back to me. I'm really sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened. Everything's been going on at once. There's a wasp in the room which has sent Polly crazy, and she's gone rushing off to try and find it. Hello, Craig. Excellent. Good. Some of you are finding it. There's 13 of you now. That's good. Good. I'm glad that so frustrating. So frustrating. Anyway, oh no, not dead again. Oh, Jeff, you didn't abandon me. Yay, thank you. I just didn't know that you were there. How lovely to see you. If you wouldn't mind, Jeff, sending the new link out to the Drinks with Kate gang for anyone who can't find me back again. But yes. Peter and Karen are saying that I'm dead again, so hopefully the rest of you can hear me. That's all working. No image, but can hear me. Oh, great, excellent. Oh, Nina, that's no good. So the old live streaming, I closed that one. I ended that one, and we've got a new link. So hopefully, if you jump out of YouTube and go back into the live links from there, it should work. Excellent, great. Thank you, Alison. Hopefully, yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Jeff. I'm sorry we had trouble with this one too. This is a very special wine, and yes, it's a shame that we that we fell off. Anyway, we're here now, and hopefully you're all enjoying your wine and enjoying your snacks, and we can, in a relaxed manner, get back into talking about it. So that's good. Good. Hello, everyone. Beautiful. Excellent. Hurrah. Okay. 2019 Duck Pinot. I'm not sure where I got to before I dropped out, but I don't think I got very far. So let me start from the beginning. In the last 2 weeks, we've had the other 2 2019 single vineyard Pinots, and I feel that, whenever we release the 3 single vineyard Pinots, they're all beautiful in their own way. But for me, it's always very exciting and special to hi, Pete. It's very special for me to be releasing this wine because this is the Pinot Noir that comes from the vines on the McIntyre vineyard, our family vineyard, and it's got a character to it that's really different from all the others. So the Robinson 2 weeks ago was very bright and forward and red fruited and crunchy and very accessible as a young wine. The Garden Vineyard Pinot last week was a bit more closed, took a bit longer to open up, had lots of savoury notes to it, which came down to partly the vintage, but a lot to do with the whole bunch ferment. And this wine, for me, has got really deep colour, and often we do, Craig, you're not allowed to pick a favourite child, but yes, it probably is. It just depends on my mood though, So this wine, much darker in colour. Even though we're in a dark room, you can see it's much darker, deeper in colour. It's still got that brightness to it though, which I think is a real signature of 2019 as a vintage. But it's really slow to open up, which is why I put it in a decanter, and I hope you did too. If you didn't put it in a decanter, that's fine. Just keep swirling, keep moving it around, get as much air into it as you can, and let it keep opening up. It is very deep and brooding, absolutely, Craig, and it will change enormously over our chat. So hopefully you'll give it plenty of time to open up. Cotty, the vine age difference is one thing that's worth talking about. Also, the clonal selection, and also just sort of the luck of the draw in 2019 that in a way this vineyard often gets a little bit more ripeness to it a bit earlier, so it gets more of that darkness and that more structure and all of that kind of thing. Yeah, so hang on. Jeff, are you texting me now, or was that from before? Oh, somebody else is texting me. Kay, new link, Kay. Sorry, everyone. Oh, just bear with me. New link on YouTube. So darker colour, tighter, more structure, and it is partly to do with the vine age, Cotty. So let's just go through that first of all. So the Robinson Vineyard, those vines, some of them are about 15 years old and some of them are a bit older. The Garden Vineyard, the vines were planted, I think, in the early 90s, which is about the same time that these vines were planted here. So the fruit for this wine, it's in 2019, the story has changed a little bit, and it's the evolving story of a vineyard that, a vineyard grows old, it changes, we learn more. So what happened in 2019 was that was the first year that the old vines, the Cabernet vines that we grafted over to Pinot Noir back in 2000 and whenever it was, those vines that we grafted were about 10 years old. So yeah, 2000, I think it was 2006 that we started grafting them. Anyway, whatever. Those vines had been providing some of the best Pinot Noir fruit that we got from our vineyard because they were old roots with new Pinot Noir tops on them. And in 2019, they started to fail really dramatically, and the quality of the fruit from that part of the vineyard was nowhere near what it had been in the past. But fortunately, the other parcel of Pinot Noir fruit that we take and use for the McIntyre Pinot, which is down in what we call the new vineyard, which is down the bottom of the property, that was planted back in about 1992. And those vines we've got, and we changed over some Chardonnay to Pinot Noir a few years later, back in about 2008, 2009, when people were really anti-Chardonnay and we had a bit too much Chardonnay planted and not enough Pinot, so we made the decision to pull out some Pinot and plant some Chardonnay. We also have done some work on that part of the vineyard down there. We noticed in hot years that we were getting quite a minty eucalyptus character in the wine. And after doing some research, we discovered that the problem was that the vines at the top end of the vineyard, which were close to all the old gum trees, if it's a hot year and the gum trees are dropping their leaves, then you only need a couple of gum leaves to get caught in a bunch as it's ripening and swelling up. And the leaf gets right into the bunch, and you can't see it when you're processing the fruit, even if you're sort of hand sorting it along the way. The leaf gets into the ferment, and you get some real eucalyptusy minty characters in the wine. So we started doing a little trial where we picked the top third of the vineyard separately, kept that separate and vinified it separately, the middle part and the bottom part of the vineyard also separately. And those 3/3 were then looked at all the way through the winemaking process, and we made a decision about whether or not we would include all the fruit or just proportions of the fruit into the final blend. And so by being able to understand, and what we discovered over a couple of years was that all of the minty characters were coming from that top third of the vineyard. In fact, the first 4 or 5, probably 4 panels of fruit, so very close to the top of the vineyard. So it was quite easy to quarantine that bit of fruit, make that separately, and then check the quality of the wine and see whether it was giving good characters, whether it was giving undesirable characters, whether it was detracting from the quality or adding to the quality before it got blended into the wine. And I think that in 2019 was the first year that we really kind of had that under control. So there is a little bit of wild mint in there still. I think it would be really sad not to see a little bit, and that sort of opens up slowly, but it's a very tiny proportion of all of the aromas and flavours that we have in the wine. Anyway, so it does, doesn't it, Angela? Oh, hi, Michael. I'm so sorry. We had to start with a new link, and I'm not very good at starting a new link and letting everyone know what the new link is. So I need my backup plan, my friends to help, Jeff and Peter, to help me get that new link out. So I'm glad you found us again. Well done. Yeah, Rob, it is the ultimate Australian terroir. If the wine doesn't smell a little bit of eucalyptus, then it could be potentially from anywhere. So getting things right over there at the same time that things started to fail over there, it was slightly coincidental, but it was also good planning, we like to say. And I think this wine reflects that. So it's the first in the new phase of the Moorooduc McIntyre Pinot. And in 2019, the fruit from the old grafted vines didn't get used in this wine. In 2020, the fruit didn't get used in the wine. And in the winter of 2020, after vintage, we made the difficult decision to pull those old vines out. And you'll have seen probably on our Instagram feed, if you look, we've got a big empty paddock at the front of the house where the old vines used to be. That's where Richard grew his flower. If you remember that story, he grew a crop of flower there about 6 months ago and made some very expensive Moorooduc appellation bread as a result. And we're actually planting cover crops on there at the moment to improve the soil. We're working on the soil to make sure that it's in top condition before we plant anything else there. And that will be replanted sometime in the next few years when we're ready, when we're know exactly what we want to plant. But in the meantime, we know that the Duck Pinot Noir is in very good hands because we've got these beautiful vines that are now mature and that are doing really good things down in the new vineyard, which isn't new anymore. So it goes to show that we're terrible at naming things, but we know what we're talking about. What have people had to say? I've been talking, not listening. Yeah, thank you, Craig. Michael, I'm so glad you adore this wine. I love it too. The vintage, it's correct. This vintage is not yet available anywhere, Michael, except for to Wine Club and Drinks with Kate members. So we have just released it at Cellar Door last weekend. But because Queen's birthday weekend was such a fail because of lockdown, because we were only allowed to, we were allowed to be open, but people were only allowed to travel 25 kilometres. This is for any of you who are not in Melbourne and haven't actually experienced the pain. I'm sorry to be causing trauma to everyone who has experienced the pain, and we're coming out of it tomorrow, so that's great. You'll all be devastated to hear that I've had to cancel my trip to Queensland that I was going on Sunday for a week to go and sell wines. And any of you who might be watching from Queensland who are coming to my lunch on Sunday, the lunch is still going ahead, but I won't be there in person. My sister Christy's coming up and I'm going to be Zoomed in or YouTubed in or something. So I will say hi, but it'll be a bit like this for the people in Queensland as well. Luckily, they'll have beautiful Christy to talk to. So, good, Kay. And you're back on. Great. Excellent. Emily, Kevin, when you plant new vines, how long does it take to get grapes you can make wine with? So there's two parts to the answer of that question. When we planted those vines, they're still on their own roots, so they were cuttings. It takes a cutting about 3 to 4 years to produce any fruit at all. Often the first, oh, Samantha, I know, it's really annoying. Emily, yeah, I know. It's very, okay, we can all cry together and have a little sip of Pinot to make us feel better. Apparently it's really cold in Queensland at the moment anyway, so, you know, who cares? When you plant vines, if you plant them on as cuttings, it takes 3 to 4 years to get a crop. If you plant them as a rootstock, sometimes you'll get a crop after 2 or 3 years, but usually, again, it's 3 to 4 years. The first crop is often really good. Just there's something weird about the first crop off Pinot Noir vines that you get. It's not profound like this, but really lovely, bright fruit. And then it takes really, after that first crop, then the crop will be okay, but not up to its full potential for at least 10 years. In France, so I say 10 years in that sort of slightly questioning tone because everyone has a different answer to this. And people in the New World who have just planted their Pinot vines 10 years ago will tell you that the fruit is already great after 10 years. And it usually is pretty good after 10 years. But if you speak to someone in Burgundy, then they won't use fruit from their vines in a Grand Cru vineyard to go into their Grand Cru wine until the vines are 30 years old. So there's not a lot of 30-year-old Pinot Noir vines down here on the Mornington Peninsula that are the right clones and that are planted in the right place, but we're all kind of edging towards there. And so 30 years is kind of our touchstone for specialness, and we're finding that already with the Chardonnays. But Pinot, we're still waiting to see how, it keeps getting better. Those vines, as I say, they were planted in about 1992, so that's what, 90, that's nearly 30 years. So I think they're getting there. Look, Craig and Rob, I kind of agree with you. So sorry, Kevin, did I finish answering that question? Yeah, so get grapes after 3, 4, 5 years, but for really great quality grapes, you need to wait for a bit longer as the vines put their roots down, get thicker trunks and kind of just build up their strength. The older the vines are, usually the better quality the fruit is. Well, that's good. Rob and Craig are both kind of comparing this to Burgundy and it does have that sort of structure and depth and profundity. For me, it's very typically Moorooduc McIntyre Pinot as well, because it's got that core of dark fruit. It's got that lovely structure to it. It's got all that savoury sort of texture and layers of flavour that keep sort of evolving and opening up, and got that lovely structure to it. It's got all that savoury sort of texture and layers of flavour that keep sort of evolving and opening up and changing. So yeah, it's a really exciting wine, and absolutely. And if you compare it to the cost of a good bottle of Grand Cru, then you can buy quite a few bottles of this for the same price. Anne, yes. So it is drinking really nicely now. I think it's taking a long time to sort of open up still. And I did a practice run with this wine last week because, you've got to make sure that it's all looking as it should. And I had a bottle at home and sort of drank it over 2 days. And in fact, on day 2, it was looking really super. So if you can drink it slowly tonight, and if you feel like keeping a little bit for tomorrow, don't feel that you have to, because, that's a bit tough on a cold winter's lockdown night. But I think that it's lovely drinking now. It will keep evolving and changing. It'll probably go into a little, so Pinot Noir often shuts down at about 5-6 years of age, and then it only shuts down for sort of 6 months or so. So I'd say drink it while it's young, or leave it in the cellar till it's sort of 6 to 8 years of age and have another look at it then. This is the sort of wine you probably want a 6-pack or a dozen of, and you want to kind of go back and sort of check on it every now and again, because I think this wine will be looking amazing in 10 years, and it might still have a lot of development and evolution still to go. So it's a wine that I really don't know how long it's going to evolve for, but it's got at least a good 10 years in it, and probably a lot longer than that. Michael, there's no whole bunch in this at all. It's 100% destemmed, and people are often surprised by that because it has so much structure and it has so much savouriness to it, which is really cool. Craig, that's fair enough. Craig is saying there's not a drinks with Kate night where a wine lasts past the video, so I think that's fair enough. So you just need to buy some more bottles and give them another go and let them kind of open up on their own accord. So Jeff, the origin of the clone. So this wine's multi-clonal. We've got a few different clones planted down there. It's mostly, there's a bit of MV6, which is that Mother Vine 6 that came out to Australia in the 1800s, and we've planted a whole lot more of that in the front vineyard, which we got our first crop off this year. So that's exciting for the future. There's also some, I think 114, there's some Able clone down there. If Jeremy's watching, he'll probably be able to correct me or fill in any gaps. I get a little bit confused about what's where, but I'm pretty sure we've got 114 and or 115 down there, and some Able clone and some MV6 and possibly a couple of other things. I'm not sure if Jeremy's had a chance to log in because he hasn't said hello, and he probably hasn't seen the new link anyway. But anyway, there's a few different clones in there, but I think that this site gives us a very different flavour profile and structure for Pinot Noir, and I think that's one of the really cool things about site-specific wines. Michael, I understand the surprise. A lot of people, and when wine writers write this up, they'll often say, evidence of some whole bunch, and it's not. The proviso to that is that our destemmer does a really good job, but in a year like 2019, there was a little bit of fragility to some of the bunches, and so the destemmer would have got rid of most of the stems, but there might have been a few bits of shattered stalk that kind of fell through. So there's always a little bit of stalk influence in all of our wines, but it's a really tiny percentage, and I think that the structure doesn't come from the stalk so much as the tiny berries and the skin to juice ratio that we've got. The depth is just, as I said at the beginning, and you might have lost me before I got to say it to you when things broke up before, but this wine has a depth and a structure and a concentration that I think it really has got a lot to do with the luck of the draw, that when we picked it, we had to pick it because of that heat wave that I told you about in the last couple of weeks. But the fruit was at that beautiful level of ripeness that it had already concentrated itself down, and it wasn't overripe. It wasn't adversely affected by the heat, but it was just absolutely at the right moment to pick it when we had to pick it. So we were very, very lucky. As I say, tiny berries from that part of the vineyard, quite thickish for Pinot Noir, thickish skins. So you get that colour and that depth and that structure in that wine with beautiful flavours. It's kind of just a really lovely natural balance that this vineyard and this wine has found, which is awesome. So Jeff and Sue, stop fighting about the wine. Just finish it up and buy another bottle. It's easy. Oh dear. So I'm feeling warmer and happier already. It's always nice to see you guys. Polly hasn't come back. She doesn't like buzzy things. She's scared of blowflies, and I think there's a wasp in the room somewhere, but it's gone to sleep again. So she was completely freaked out. At the same time, see, Jeff, you're not getting a lot of support from the ladies on the terms of holding wine back. But yes, Polly's gone. Jill and Richard are upstairs as well playing bridge with their friends, and they were trying to watch the Drinks with Kate video, so that might have been why we broke up earlier on. So I had to ring them and tell them to get off the computer. Anyway, it's all good now. We're all nice. We're all happy. How are your snacks and your meals going with your wine? Okay, it's not on the website at the moment, but if you go back to the email that I sent you, there's a link that went out last week on Saturday morning. Queen's Birthday weekend, there was an email that went out to the whole mailing list, and there's buttons that are linked to the website. Jeff's job tomorrow is getting those links onto the website, but because we tier the release of this wine, because we don't make very much of it. There's about 200 dozen of this wine made in a good year, and we always struggle to make sure that everybody who wants it gets some. So we set up our wine club with the main idea that this would be a way of, thank you, Jeff. This is the main idea of the wine club, is to get the people who love this wine onto the wine club, so everyone in the wine club gets first chance to order this wine. So if it does sell out, then at least we know that the right people got it first, hopefully, as long as you're reading your emails. So it's not a perfect system, but it's the best system that we were able to devise. We had Kenneth, it's true, he has a big job and it's very important. Root vegetable quiche, lots of cheese. That sounds delicious. And I do think that, good work, Sue. Good work, Jeff. I'm glad you sorted out the wine rationing issues. And Craig Goodman, you asked tonight's deal for a 6-pack. We do not discount any of our single vineyard wines. The deal is you get to buy it before anybody else. And once it's sold, it's sold. Once it's gone, it's gone. We don't release a lot of it to retail anymore. We speak to all of our distributors and they work really hard to just put it in the right places. But if you ever see it in a retail situation on offer, grab it, because we can't control retailers about what price they put on the wine. But the more we're able to make sure that this wine gets into the right hands first, the less opportunities the retailers are going to get to buy it in the future. I love retail. I think retail's awesome, but for a wine like this, we just never have enough. So just making sure that everyone gets some. The other thing, Craig, is that if you buy the wines through us and you're in the wine club, then you also get offered magnums at Christmas time. So we had the 15 magnums last Christmas. This Christmas, we're going to be releasing the 2016 magnums. So the 2018, 2019 are still a few years away, but I think that's an exciting little ad. Yeah, good luck checking Dan's website, Craig. I can tell you that you will not find it there. We've got a couple of independent retailer friends who get a very small allocation, and there's a few restaurants that get an allocation. So you might be able to drink it while you're out at restaurants. But the best way to get this wine into your cellar is to buy it direct from us, and more so in the future. And that's a little bit because we're control freaks, but it's more about us making sure that you get some rather than it going to someone who, might not be as engaged with us and might not deserve it as much as you. So that's the point behind it. Jeff and I also, our other job is to hold back a small amount of the single vineyard wines, particularly the Duck Pinot, so that we can re-release it to you guys in 5 years' time. And we've been at Moorooduc, we've been terrible at doing that. So when I look at our museum stock, we've got some Robinson and some Garden Vineyard that we've stashed. We've got very little of the Duck Pinot because we get ourselves into a situation where we've allocated it all out, sold it all to people, and then someone else important comes to us and says, oh, I haven't got my allocation of the wine and I really need it. And so then we go into our museum stock and we give them another 2 cases or another 5 cases or whatever it happens to be. And it all disappears and we go, oh gosh, now we don't have any of the 2010 Duck Pinot to show to our wine club members and our Drinks with Kate people in the future. Yes, and that's another one of Jeff's job is to follow up after these tasting sessions to make sure that you all get your 6-packs that you want. So So it makes your job easier, doesn't it, Jeff? Jeff Quirk asks, how many bottles did we produce of this vintage? Now, as I said before, about 200 dozen. So that's what, 2,400, yeah, 12 times 200, whatever that is. I can't do that when I've had half a glass of Pinot and it's a Thursday night. I can tell people other parts of your job if you like, Jeff. Are you a mystery man? Sorry. Jeff is a mystery man. He doesn't like people to know too much about what he does. It's all very mysterious. He's a spy, actually. What else? You are very mysterious, Jeff. You'll always be mysterious. Now, I've got to say, I don't think Linda and Steve are here tonight because Linda's gone out with the girls. They're missing out. Bad luck for them. So how many bottles, Jeff McKeon? I told you, 12. Hang on, 12 times 200. What's that? 12 times 200. I always get my zero. So 2,400 bottles, approximately. That's not very many. We sell a little bit overseas. And the other thing that I'm going to tell you guys is that this wine is the wine that has been, not this vintage, but in the past. Thank you, Zach and Jack. I got there with my calculator. I'm not very good at doing numbers when I'm talking. It's very hard. Not enough, exactly, Kenneth. This wine, after we've sold it all out, that's when we get that's when we get the wine on the front cover of Decanter or something, or we get an amazing review for it. The 2018 Duck Pinot Hugh and Hook has declared to be his #1 wine from the Mornington Peninsula in 2018. And of course, when he declared that, we pretty much sold out of all of that wine. So, it's just I'm saying that this is a wine that does very well. We think it's good. You guys know it's good. So don't waste time. Just get it in your cellar. Sam, why was a Manchego cheese recommended with this wine? Okay, so I have quite strong opinions about cheese and wine, and I think there's a lot of cheeses out there that don't really go with red wine, and particularly with Pinot Noir. Traditionally, people will serve cheese and red wine at the end of a meal, and I think that often different cheeses will fight with wine really hard. Manchego is a semi-hard sheep's milk cheese, and I think sheep's milk cheeses have that mellowness. They have a kind of softness. They're not as sharp as cow's milk cheese, and they're not as tangy as a goat's milk cheese. And they just bring out the cherry and the brightness of fruit in a Pinot, and they handle the particular tannin structure of a wine like this really, really well. And I think Craig's Truffle Manchego is taking it to another level altogether, because truffle also does fabulous things with Pinot Noir. So that would be amazing. The other French cheese that I think works really well with Pinot Noir and is often matched to red Burgundy is a cheese called Osso Irati, and that's also a semi-hard sheep's milk cheese. It's slightly less salty often than Manchego, and a little bit less waxy than Manchego, but similar sort of softness and roundness of flavour with that, just that little bitiness from the sheep's milk cheese. I just think it's wonderful. I think it's a wonderful match, a semi-hard sheep's milk cheese with a young, structured Pinot. Also, in Burgundy, they'll often drink young red wine, red Pinot Noir, with double cream or triple cream brie style cheeses. They're not brie because brie's from further north in France, but it's a sort of brie. It's a soft cheese with a white mold rind, quite stinky. That one particular style that's very well loved by the French with Pinot Noir is called Epoisse. I know that we've had people on this chat getting very excited about Epoisse in previous conversations, Epoisse is a cheese that really divides the room. It's very strong smelling. When it's ripe, it's very runny, and it's absolutely glorious with fresh, crusty bread and a glass of Pinot Noir. So that's the other cheese that I would say to eat with Pinot Noir. Truffle pecorino, yes, chef, that works very well as well. The cheeses that I would avoid, like the plague when you're drinking red wine, but particularly Pinot Noir, are any type of blue cheese. I think blue cheese and Pinot Noir fight, and they make each other taste metallic and really unpleasant. What else? Often wash-dried cheeses also don't work very well with Pinot Noir. They're a bit they've both got quite a lot of volatility to them, so they augment each other, and the wine and the cheese just tastes kind of a bit lifted, a bit stinky. Fresh buffalo mozzarella, yes, Jeff, that works very, very well with this sort of wine. It's the opposite of Epoisse. It's got beautiful texture, but it's very delicate in its flavour profile, and it kind of just gives way to the wine. The other cheese that actually works quite well with this sort of wine, if you don't mind the saltiness, is what's it called? My brain's gone. The Greek cheese that you fry, you slice it up and fry it. John and Barb are watching. I don't think they're on chat, but they'll know what I mean because they've served it to me before. But that is what's it called? I bought it the other day. My brain has melted this week. I'm sorry about that. I love Epoisse as well. So people who love Epoisse, go for it. Good work, Michael. I'm so pleased, Rob. I think this is a wine that has put a smile on lots of people's faces. I'm feeling much better now that we actually have a stream that's working. Halloumi, thank you. Halloumi or Saganaki, both will work. Kefalogaria, which I can't say, also works very well. And a little stracciatella, fantastic. Saganaki, yep, beautiful. Thanks, guys. I knew you'd get there. That actually works very well with this sort of wine as well. In a different way. They fight a little bit harder. They're quite strong flavours, but they seem to work well. You don't want too much lemon on your cheese though before you go for the wine. Let the wine do the acidification instead. Well, team, with all that excitement, it's nearly 7 o'clock. So that's ridiculous. And we've come to the end of our trio of single vineyard Pinots. And I've just realised that I have absolutely no idea what we're drinking next week. I think it might be an older Chardonnay, or is it the Pinot Gris, Jeff? Let's say we'll do, because we've been doing all these young wines. There's an older Chardonnay in your box. I think it's a Robinson 12 or 13 Chardonnay in there. So you should have 3 wines left in your box. There's a 17 Estate Pinot Gris, which is the new release Pinot Gris. We'll leave that till the end. You think we should do the Pinot Gris next, Jeff? We can do the Pinot Gris next week. We've got the Magic Storks Shiraz 2019. So the one that we tasted last year. We're tasting that again to kind of round out the Magic Storks tasting that we started a few weeks ago. And we've got this older Chardonnay, so 2012 Chardonnay. So I think I'm going to make an executive decision and say, let's do the 2012 Chardonnay next week. I think we deserve it. And we'll save the Pinot Gris for week 6. We'll keep the Pinot Gris for week 6 because it'd be nice to have the 2012 Chardonnay. It's a delicious wine, and I think we deserve that next week. Greater Melbourne, we're coming out of lockdown. We still can't go interstate, but that's okay because we've got each other. And next week, as I said, I was supposed to be coming to you from sunny Brisbane, but I'll be coming from not so sunny Moorooduc instead, which will be lovely. And I will look forward to seeing you all then. I'm glad, Alison, that you enjoyed all 3 of these 2019 Pinot Noirs. I love them. They'll be going up on the website probably tomorrow, very, very soon. But you guys have a special link to them. So grab them before anybody else can, and we'll get those out to you. We're still doing deliveries. It's all still happening as normal at Moorooduc. We're open this weekend, so if you feel like coming down, come and see Jeff. I think that's probably about all I have to say. I also have to say, for those of you who booked into mushroom tours this year, we're really, really sad that they didn't work out. I know Cam's been getting in contact with everyone slowly but surely. So if you haven't heard anything, yet, he will be in contact. It's looking like we've just missed the opportunity to catch the mushroom season, but we'll try again next year. Anyway, thanks everyone. It's been lovely to see you all. Thank you for bearing with the technical issues. Come and see us on the weekend. Have a lovely night. Enjoy the rest of your Pinot. Thank you very much, everyone, and cheers. Whoa, where's my end? Where's my button? There we go. See you later. Cheers.